Hello everybody, this is Ben with Saganworks, welcoming you back to our next video talking about some advanced techniques and more in-depth interactions that you can build for your guests. I've gone ahead and prepared a quick scene for us to go over some of these systems. So first I'd like to talk about adding images and cropping them to frames, and the different types of frame and surface options we have. So I've put here on the wall here a few of our decorative frames, and you can find these in the furniture palette by just doing a quick search for frame, and we have several to choose from. You'll know decorative and customizable frames by looking for this little pencil and cog in the corner on each one of these, which means that you can customize some form or fashion of that item. So I've grabbed a few of these dental frames here, a square, a 16 by 9, and a 3 by 2, and I've rotated one into portrait. So I'm going to show you how you can grab your images, or really anything with a thumbnail, in your knowledge pane here. And I've got some paintings here from Francisco Goya. I've been working on a Goya project, so I'll just go ahead and use those for the example today. You can grab any one of these images and drag them, much like you can drag them onto the wall, but you'll see that things that can accept those images will have a little icon show up with a little light bulb and a finger, and then you can drag it right inside of that frame, and it will snap as best as it knows how to a default position. And you'll notice that the orientation maybe isn't the way you would want it to be when you first snap it in, but I'm going to show you now how you can customize that positioning. So say I wanted to just focus in on this portrait and crop it to maybe the top area of this individual's chest. To do that, I can select the frame and then go to the edit menu here, and then we have a fine-tuning menu that will show up here at the bottom. Click on that and the camera will bring us closer to the frame, and we get a series of sliders here that will let us adjust the positioning and the size of this picture in the frame. So if I wanted to zoom in, I can use the zoom slider to bring the picture so that it fills the entire canvas. But obviously I wouldn't want to keep it like this because I've cut off our poor subject's head. So I can use these shifting controls here to shift the vertical down where we can see his smiling face. And when we're done, we can hit this back arrow here, and we can take a step back and see that we've been able to crop him in there just fine. So go ahead and grab another image here, and I'll show you what happens if you have something rotated and you would like to change it. Here in the top corner we have some quick rotation buttons that will let you change the orientation of the image inside of the frame so that you can support it for portrait or landscape. And again, you can still use the scale to fill the frame, and you will have it filled the way you'd like. We can also shift this horizontally. Here is a little bit tricky because the frame is rotated. You would have to use the shift horizontal to do a vertical shift and a vertical shift to do a horizontal shift if the frame has been rotated 90 degrees. So a few more adjustments here on images. If I was to bring in, say, this image here, there's a few other options here in this menu that we can try out. So under the More Options menu, we can toggle a higher resolution version of the graphic. So if you're using a very large frame in the room, we'll sample a kind of a medium-sized version of the image to put on display, but if it's losing detail or it's not looking as crisp as you would like, you can use this high resolution toggle to ask the system to serve up a larger resolution image. Now, we're not going to see a huge change with what I've got here, but that is an option for a photograph or an image that you could have that's larger on the wall. If you wanted to simulate the idea of a like LCD screen or like a backlit display, we have this self-luminous toggle here that will disable the room lighting onto the surface here, so it'll be lit based on the pixel information, the lighting information resident in the image. If you don't want your guests to be able to inspect the image, say you wanted to put in some wayfinding, like some arrows or a sign on the wall or some decoration in the space that you don't necessarily want to make a featured artifact or a featured item for your guests, you can disable the interactable flag on it, which will basically prevent anyone that clicks on the image from having it go into the inspectable mode. So this is useful, again, for putting graphics on the floor or putting up little decals or things of that nature for a decorative purpose. And then finally, if you wanted to allow guests to download a copy of that image or file, you can enable the downloadable flag here. Finally, if you have audio that you wanted to associate with your file or image, you can click the Add Audio button here, and it will look through your current library of files and put everything here that is an audio file. So here I have a piece of curated audio from, I believe it's the Prado, talking about the Blind Man's Bluff painting from Goya. If I wanted to have this audio file associated with this file when someone inspects it, I can associate it by adding it. So when a guest comes in and clicks on the inspect mode, this player will show up and it will...
During the reign of King Charles III of Spain, scenes from everyday life were used as a decorative motif for certain rooms in...
So that is the extent of the Fine Details menu and the More Options menu here. If you want to remove an audio clip after you've added it, if you select the same object with an audio, you can click this Remove Audio button to clear the audio out. And then same as if you wanted to detach these photographs from the frames. There's two ways we can do this. One is we can long click till you see the circle fill twice, and it will now put that image onto my mouse cursor until I release. Or I can go into the edit mode again, and I can simply just say clear the knowledge, and it will erase whatever is inside the frame. So a couple more things to note is certain signs, like this freestanding museum sign, don't crop images, but it does give you a nice big surface to work with where you can put an arrangement of images on here to suit your needs. So this is kind of a nice tool for laying out maybe some custom labels or some information. Like you can see here, if I wanted to have a detailed description for each one of these paintings, I could put a little thumbnail painting here on the sign stand, and I could either create a graphic arrangement. Let's grab the one that I've got here real quick. You could create a graphic arrangement here where you could have this look like a installed piece of text and key art. And since this is a little bit hard to see against the white, I can also show you that a lot of these pieces of furnishing can be customized with color. So if I wanted to put this dark blue on here, now it would make my white text pop against the dark blue background. So that is some ideas in terms of how different surfaces can take on different arrangements. Now, since I've just started talking about customizing, I'm going to direct our attention to this little area here to show some other ways we can customize the space. So if I go into the same edit menu on the furniture, if I click on the paintbrush, I can call up the color picker. And I believe I've covered this in a previous video, but just for the sake of moving us forward here, we can use this color wheel to pick any amount of color that we would like interactively, or if you're somebody who likes to keep track of colors in a more precision-based way, we do offer direct precision-based color formatting through RGB, hue, saturation, value, and hex codes. So I've got also down here a series of swatches that I've amassed over my several days of designing. So if you needed to save a color, say we wanted to go back to our color wheel and we wanted to work with a maroon type of color here. If that's something I'm happy with, I can click the plus sign, and it will add that color to my swatches so that I can quickly go to every single one of these couches and make sure they're all using the exact same color I have selected previously. So that's pretty handy. Certain things like TV screens and some other furniture items in the collection can be customized with a varying number of your files. So if we wanted to drag a video, in this case I've got just a quick little video of a tutorial I had done the other day. Videos will show up as little slideshows here on the TV screen and give your guests a preview of what the video contents will look like. Same with some certain types of furnishings. So for example, like this sweater can have a couple of different ways you can customize it. We can change both the color of the sweater, and we could also add a decal. And for just such occasion here, I will bring in this logo, and just like that, I've made a University of Michigan hooded sweatshirt. And that drag and drop logo I just added automatically gets added to my image collection once it's uploaded. So there it is. So I could also make an accompanying clock, and I could go into this clock and have it match my sweater. Certain items like carpets and other furniture pieces may have two different colors that you can choose from. So to select between the different editable colors, you can switch between these swatches here at the bottom. So if I was to say add this maroon color and that orange, which is not very attractive, so maybe grab something a little bit nicer looking like that, you can start to customize your space quite a bit to suit your aesthetic needs. So that is kind of the overview of customizing. Now, once you've got a space put together, you can put together a tour. And I'd like to demonstrate here. I've put a tour together here that goes through kind of the different stations I have in this customized space. So I can walk you through real quick what I had put together before, and then we'll go through together and we'll make a fresh tour. So if I want to go into this tour, I would go from the top menu to the tours button here, and I'm going to select view tour, and then it gives me a new set of controls here at the bottom of the screen. And I can step through the tour using my arrow keys, or I can step through the tour using these interactive buttons here at the bottom. As you can see, this tour stop here is talking about inspectable objects, so I can click on an object to inspect it in inspect mode, and I'll show you guys how to turn on inspectable features on a model after we're done with this tour. So I'm going to take a step to my next station here, which is showing a kind of a fun way for you to mix and match certain furniture pieces together to make more substantial artifact holders in your space. So here I've got a placeable wall. I've used some labels and some floating shelves, and I've put some artifacts on those shelves on this wall, as well as I've incorporated some graphic design, text, and image that I previously built in Photoshop or Illustrator, or your 2D design tool of choice. Also in our collection, we have animated stands that you can use, and we'll show you how to use those in just a moment, where you can put a large object on display and have it rotate automatically, so to create interest or be able to see, without going to inspect mode, all the different angles of an artifact. There's also a library of effects in our furniture gallery, and each one of these effects can be added to a room, and you'll see these little emitter balls that are associated with it. Your guests won't see those emitter balls, they'll just see the effects in the room, but those emitter balls are there to help you position, place, and scale those effects so that they can create kind of a neat atmosphere for different areas of your room. There's also some collections of dynamic lights. So you can see here I've got a light placed on the bottom with this ball, but it's actually a light cone above the number 5 here that you can see the light cone represented here if I turn my head up a little bit. And this is one of many different dynamic light shapes that we have available so that you can create a lighting condition that would show more emphasis or focus on one particular aspect of your room versus another. New with our application this year is the ability to upload your own models, and we're really excited about this feature because of how much unique variety that you can come up with bringing in your own 3D models to put on display. So here are 3 models that I personally scanned. One of them is one of my son's stuffed toys. Another is a Buddha statue that I captured at the NGA, and another is a ancient Asian bird sculpture, also from the NGA. And each one of these models was created using a tool called Polycam. So Polycam is a free-to-use application that you can get for your phone, Android or iOS, and you take a series of photographs that will then send those photographs to a server where it will process a 3D mesh. So here's an example of a 3D mesh that gets generated from the photographs. And to use it in your exhibit, you can process it here in Polycam, and then we can download it as a GLTF format. And that's currently the format we prefer and the one that's going to work. Currently, we don't support any other formats at this time, but we are working on improving that for a few months from now. But for now, GLTF is the best format and the only format that will work. So once you download that, you'll see you can grab the download from your downloads folder. I'm going to open this in another window real quick, and I will be bringing it into Saganworks here. So that file I can drag and drop. You'll see it's going to come down here, and I'm going to add it to this pedestal here. So as it's saving the data and uploading the mesh, it is preparing the model in the background, and it will show up once it's ready. So I'll come back to that in just a moment. Also, something you can consider is the use of portals. Portals are a great way to connect more than one space. If you've got several rooms you'd like to link together, you can use the portal menu here to go through your entire library of exhibits and be able to drag out a link to those exhibits that'll show up either as kind of a freestanding crystal ball, a snow globe that can be on top of a desk, or quite literally a door that you can insert into the wall. And each one of these will lead me to load that other room, or lead your guest to load that other room when they explore your spaces. And then finally, we can employ some custom covers for URLs. So I've got a URL here that I'm not entirely happy with because it's using just a default texture. But if I go into my knowledge management tool, I can go to that that URL. I believe this one is the Polycam captures, and I can change this graphic around so that it looks different in the space. And this is handy for creating links, custom buttons that you could put into the space that lead into different URLs. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that edit page here. So I'm going to head back to the beginning of our tour, and I'm going to show us how to make a tour from scratch. So I'm going to open up the tours menu, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the existing tour we just went on and start from scratch. So when you first open the tours menu, it will prompt you to create a tour by using the create new tour button here below. It will then prompt you to give a name. In this case, I'll call it demo tour. And if you wanted to provide a description so that you can tell your guests what the contents of the tour are. In this case, go over great features of exhibit design. And then from here, we'll see a tour editing menu. And this will keep track of all our different tour stops. And what I love about the tour system is it's just so easy to fly around the space and decide what different camera vantage points you want to give your guests. So following in the old tour demo that I had put together, I can start with kind of framing up this first position here, take a couple steps back and get everything in frame, and then I can just drop a tour stop, and it will give me a thumbnail showing me a preview of where that tour stop is, and it will automatically name it point of interest. But if I wanted to give it a specific name, I could click this pencil and call this inspect models. And I can save that, and it will update the name and say maybe I'm not entirely happy with the layout of the camera perspective. I can click this edit button again, and we can click on the edit camera point of view, and now I can change my camera angle to suit whatever angle I would prefer. And once I'm satisfied, click save, and it will update that camera's position on the tour stop. And just like that, I can now go to my second stop, drop a new tour point here, give it a name, drop a new tour point, and I can even lower the camera and do some more dramatic angles like I had done before. Set up my next stop, like so. So on and so forth. So I will, actually I'll just do one out of order real quick to show you something. So if I was to say add this tour stop, and then go add this tour stop, and I would want to go back into my tour and modify these positions, that's what this little drag handle is here. So if you're used to using a presentation tool like PowerPoint or Google Present, you can use these grippers to change the order of your tour stops just by dragging it up and down in the list. So say I needed to fix, right, the 5 is out of order and I want to put it between 4 and 6. I can grab the 5 and drop it, so now it'll change its index position to 5, and it is now automatically put in that order, so when I go back through the tour, it will go in the order I wish. Once I'm done with my tour, I can click the Finish Editing Tour button, and it will now make that tour available. And if for whatever reason I want to go back, extend the tour, remove a stop, make some changes, whatever I need to do, clicking the Edit Tour button will bring me back to this tour menu and give me all of my different stops, where I can click each edit button as I need. And if I need to delete any tour stops, under that edit button, I can click the delete tour stop and it will delete the tour stop from my list. And that's pretty much the extent of tours. So let's go in and talk a little bit more about some of the features that I showed in this tour and some things that you can try when you build out your exhibits. So first, I wanted to show you that if you're using one of our library items, by default they're not inspectable, as in they're just assumed to be a prop in the room that isn't very interesting, but say it is something that you wanted your guests to be able to look at more closely if you've used it for one purpose or another. To do that, you would select the object, click on the edit, where you would get the color editor, but you also get this toggle that will let any guest of the room be able to inspect it by just turning that inspect mode on. And that will turn a little shimmer on this model at playback to let guests know that that is something that they can interact with. And this is handy not just for antiquities like this bust, but you could also use it as a means for adding it to a wall like this, where your guests could get kind of a soloed view of that wall, and then they could go freely explore the different aspects of that wall. So it's kind of a neat feature for breaking away from the traditional way of looking at a presentation board and being able to let a user explore further. Or if you wanted to, say, hide something on the back side of a wall or put more information on the back side of the wall, you could include that as well. Now for the animated platforms, if I go down here and I'm going to do a search for rotating, I believe that's the correct one, yes. So rotating platform, which is what I've got currently here for the bust of Head of David, if you select an animated platform and you click on the pencil tool, you'll see an animation menu here that will let you choose from a couple different animation behaviors that are available. So in this one, it's currently set to a slow half-speed rotation. I could do spin, which is a little faster. I could do a kind of a ratchet spin, where it will do like a turn and a pose. I could do a seesaw, like a back and forth, so we don't fully go in one direction or another, but creates kind of this oscillating animation. And if I don't want it to move at all, I can just leave it on the idle setting. So that is how you would work with animated furniture. Now over here I've got some effects laid down, and we have quite a few to choose from. So we've got some bubbles, which are fun. We have confetti that kind of sprays out every once in a while and creates kind of a party vibe, always fun. And we have fire, as you see here, which includes a little bit of smoke. We have kind of an ominous fog, which is really nice for creating some mystery. And We have fall leaves, which is very nice for just some ambient motion. Quite a few things for you to play around with and check out. So have a look at some of those effects. The effects can be applied to most any surface, so you can have fire shooting out of the wall, you can have it on the floor here, you can even put it on like chairs and tables and things like that. So get creative with how you want to apply effects for your scene. Same with lighting. If I take our attention over here, I've got this light kind of set up here to put some drama on the number 5 here. And I can change the height of the light by using the transform menu here to make the cone smaller or larger. I can move the light left and right. Now this is still a new system for us, so there's not all the types of custom controls that you may have seen in other areas of the application, but it still provides some pretty nice effects as it stands now. To find lights, you could just do a search for VFX, and you'll have a series of these different dynamic lights to choose from. I just encourage you to drag different ones out to the space and see which one suits your needs the best. And let's come back to our custom models, because we had uploaded a custom model that I need to bring back, and I will show that model is a drop down here in the menu, and that called Buddha. That's right. So here is that mesh that you remember seeing from Polycam is now placeable in the space, and I can place it here on the pedestal. I can scale it up, move it around, and it is generally just a cool thing to have in the space now. So that's the extent of what we can do with custom meshes. And then I believe there's not much else to cover in this video. So just to review, we've put some images in frames, we've cropped them out, we've customized an area of furniture, and we've shown that you can customize pretty much anything from sweaters to clocks to chairs. We've went through how to inspect items by turning on the inspect flag, and all the different use cases that may be nice to have. We've talked about animated furniture. In this case, I'll turn our animation back on. Talked about using effects to create mood and atmosphere in our space. We talked about using lighting to create, again, more mood or atmosphere or importance to our space. And we briefly talked about how to utilize custom models, predominantly through the Polycam interface, to bring in our own artifacts and our own 3D meshes to put on display. We talked a bit about portals and how they can connect rooms together. That about covers our advanced tutorial here on all the different sub-features of Saganworks. I look forward to coming back with another video talking through some design techniques and looking at ways that we can mix these different features together to create some pretty compelling interactive exhibits. So appreciate your time, and I look forward to joining you again in a future video. Again, my name is Ben Mazza, and I'm with Saganworks, and have a good day. Thanks.